Hi viewers, welcome to SEKHAR'S Bio Factory for NEET. If you like this video, subscribe my channel and click on bell icon to get notification. In this video, I am going to explain one of the topic in transport in plants. It is long distance transport of water along with water absorption by root. Within plant body, the transportation of water and various substances it occur in either short distance or in long distance. The short distance transportation of various molecules occur in plant body by diffusion and facilitated diffusion or active transport methods. In case of long distance transportation of molecules, it occurs in plant body with the help of vascular tissues like xylem and phloem is called translocation. This transportation mechanism which take place in plant body, it can be demonstrated with the help of an experiment. In this experiment, by taking a small twig, it consists of white color flowers and it is taken inside colored water. And it is observed that after few hours, the white color flowers, it turns into color depending upon the color of solution where it is taken. By taking cross section of the twig, when it is examined under microscope, we can find that the reason through the colored solution water is moved is clearly visible. With the help of that experiment, we can demonstrate that the movement of water occur in plant body through vascular bundles and more specifically by xylem tissue only. The long distance transportation of various substances within plant body it not occur by the process of diffusion alone, because diffusion is a very slow process and passive process, and it can account for only short distance movement of molecules within plant body. But the movement of molecule across a typical plant cell, generally it takes place 50 micrometers approximately per 2.5 seconds. But in case of large and complex plants, the substances moves across very long distance with a faster rate. So during a diffusion or active transport, these two methods are not sufficient for the transportation of molecule for long distance. At this time, a special long distance transportation system it becomes necessary to move various substances across long distance with a much faster rate. At this time, the water and minerals along with food are generally moved in plant body by a method it is called mass or bulk flow system. In this mass flow or bulk flow system, the movement of various substances generally it takes place in bulk or en masse from one point to another point, such as this entire process take place from one point to another point which are too far to each other, and the entire movement of a molecule takes place for long distance in bulk flow or mass flow due to pressure difference in between two regions. So pressure difference it play a major role in long distance transportation is called pressure gradient. At this time, the substances, whether in either solution or in suspension, are swept along with the same phase as a flowing river. In a flowing river, if any material is there, along with water flow, how the materials are transported in this way, along with water within plant body, various substances can transported in same direction like flowing river. So unlike diffusion, where different substances can move independently depending upon their concentration gradient. So in diffusion, the movement of molecule take place only in one direction. But in case of a long distance or mass flow or bulk flow system, each and every molecule which is transported that can take place independent, that is due to its concentration gradient. So in case of bulk flow, the process of bulk flow, it is achieved or takes place by hydrostatic pressure, and this hydrostatic pressure gradient is again two types. One is a positive hydrostatic pressure. It is seen in garden hose. So garden hose is a long tube, and with this tube in gardens water can be transported for long distance. So for the movement of long distance of water, some pressure is created at one end of the garden hose or pipe. Due to this more pressure, water can transport for long distance, and this pressure it helps to push water for long distance. This pushing energy or pushing nature, it is called positive or positive hydrostatic pressure gradient. It is seen in case of garden hose. Along with its one more hydrostatic pressure, it is called negative hydrostatic pressure gradient. So in this example is suction of water or any substance through a straw. It is an example for negative hydrostatic pressure gradient. In this, with the help of mouth, by creating some pressure, the water is pulled to mouth. It is an example for negative hydrostatic pressure gradient. So both this positive and negative hydrostatic pressure gradient, it play an important role in bulk flow or mass flow system. During this movement, the bulk movement of substances through the conducting tissues or vascular tissues like xylem and phloem take place for long distance is called translocation. Along with this, the higher plants have specialized vascular tissues like xylem and phloem for the transportation of water, minerals, hormones along with the food substances. In this, xylem is the main tissue. It is associated with translocation of water, mineral salts and some organic nitrogen along with hormones, and this xylem tissue can translocate all these substances from root to aerial parts of plant body. But the phloem is another vascular tissue. It helps to translocate variety of organic and inorganic solutes mainly from leaf to different parts in plant body. Plants generally absorb water. To understand the absorption of water mechanism, first, plant absorbs most of the water through root system only from soil. At this time, the root system, when it penetrates into soil, especially the epidermal cell can produce root hair. It play an important role in water absorption. During this absorption, the responsibility of water absorption and mineral absorption is more specifically the main function of root hair. These are present with millions of number. At the tip of the root, millions of root hairs are present. It play an important role in the absorption of water and minerals. So each root hair, it is a thin-walled, slender extension of root epidermis, and also it provide large surface area for the absorption of water. And water is absorbed along with mineral solutes by root hair, and then these are the method the entire absorption of water and minerals take place purely by diffusion process from soil to root. So once water is absorbed by root hair, it can flow into the inner portion or inner layers of root with two distinct pathway which are deeply into root layers. In this, the first pathway is apoplast pathway and second pathway is symplast pathway. In case of apoplast pathway, in this water it passes from root hair to xylem through walls of intervening cells without crossing any membrane or cytoplasm is called apoplast pathway. So during this transportation, the water movement takes place just in between cells through intercellular spaces without crossing cytoplasm in cell. In this apoplast system, the adjacent cell walls that contains continuously, they are present continuously throughout the plant except at Casparian strips present in inner layer of cortex. It is called endodermis. So endodermis only, it is a layer consists of Casparian strips. At this time, the apoplastic movement of water, it is exclusively take place through intercellular spaces or walls of the cell just outside of the cell. The movement through apoplast that does not involve in the crossing of the cell membrane. That means without crossing any cell, the movement of water take place through intercellular spaces only. The entire process take place depending upon the gradient of water movement. The apoplastic movement does not provide any barriers to water movement, and water movement is through mass flow. That means the cells present in epidermis and cortex having intercellular spaces during this apoplast pathway, there is no barriers up to endodermis. The apoplast does not provide any barrier to water movement, and at this time the entire water movement takes place from outside to inside up to endodermis by apoplast pathway. So during this apoplast pathway, depending upon concentration gradient, the water it evaporates into intercellular spaces depending upon concentration gradient, or sometimes it may take place into atmosphere, that is a continuous stream of water. Due to evaporation of water into intercellular spaces or atmosphere, some tension developed in continuous stream of water in apoplast pathway. But mass flow of water occur. It is due to some physical properties of water like adhesive and cohesive property. So water molecules have attraction in between them is called cohesive property, and it have a attraction with their polar surfaces is called adhesive property. Due to these two physical properties of water, water can move continuously in the form of a stream in apoplast pathway. The second pathway is symplast pathway. So in root cells, the root cells, especially neighboring cells, are connected through pits, and through these pits, the cytoplasm of one cell is connected with the cytoplasm of neighboring cell with the help of cytoplasmic strand. It is called plasmodesmata. This plasmodesmata, it play an important role in symplast pathway. The symplast system is the system connected or interconnected with the protoplast of neighboring cells. During the symplastic moment, the water it travel through the cell, that means inside of the cell in their cytoplasm, and intercellular movement through plasmodesmata only. So plasmodesmata, it helps to transport water from one cell to another cell inside of the cell only. So water has enters the cell through cell membrane, hence the movement is relatively slower. When water moves outside of the cell in apoplast, the movement takes place very faster but due to entry of water from one cell to another cell, relatively it is slow compared to apoplast pathway. In this pathway, movement is again down a potential gradient, and symplastic movement, it is supported or aided by cytoplasmic streaming which is take place in a plant cell. The cytoplasmic streaming is nothing but the cytoplasm present in one cell. It get rotates within cell. It is called a cytoplasmic stream that can easily visible in hydrilla leaf cells due to movement of chloroplast by cytoplasmic stream. The most of the water in plants, especially root, it flows occur through apoplast because the cortical cells are closely packed and there is no resistance to water movement. So during water transportation, first water enters into epidermis and some water can transported outside of the cell through apoplast, and some water can transport within the cell from epidermis, cortex, endodermis, fiery cycle, and finally it reach xylem. So during this process, the inner boundary of cortex, it is nothing but endodermis. This endodermis cell, it consists of imperceptible water because that cells having superized matrix on their tangential and radial walls. It is in the form of a strip is called Casparian strip. So water molecules, when it reach near endodermis, they are unable to penetrate into endodermis cells. At this time, this water movement is directed towards inside of the cell where not soberized, and finally they are transported into the endodermis by symplast method. So the water then moves through the symplast and again cross the membrane to reach xylem cells. Even though water can transport with apoplast up to endodermis, then their movement is followed by symplast. The movement of water through the root layers is ultimately symplast in endodermis. So in this way, only it is the only way to transport water and other solute particles, and finally these are enters into vascular cylinder. In case of young roots, water directly enters into xylem vessels or tracheids. Once water it enters into xylem vessels, it's again free to move between the cell as well as through the xylem cells. The non-living components of a xylem tissue is nothing but tracheids and vessels are the part of apoplastic pathway. So during water absorption, in case of some higher plants, it needs some additional structure, and these additional structures are associated with plants. It helps in absorption of water and minerals. It is in case of mycorrhiza. So mycorrhiza is a symbiotic association of fungus with the roots of higher plants is called mycorrhiza. The fungal filament, it is generally present or associated with the root in the form of network, and young roots or these roots penetrate the root cells. At this time, the higher plants, due to lack of root hairs, it do not have a nature to absorb water. When fungal association is present around the root, at this time the fungus it penetrates into epidermal cells and acts as a root hair to absorb water because of more absorption surface area. So at this time the hyphae have very large surface, and because of this large absorption surface it absorbs mineral ions, water from soil. So this absorbed water and mineral ions with a large volume from soil, it is transported into root. So during this process, fungi it provide water and minerals to roots. Instead of that, root it provides sugars and nitrogen containing compounds to fungi, and both are mutually benefited, and this symbiotic association is called mycorrhizae. So some of the seeds like Pinus, they shows obligate association with fungi. That means in the absence of fungi, plant never grow. That relation is called obligate association. Example, the Pinus seeds. These are the having very hard seed coat without a fungal association. It is not possible to germinate because the Pinus seeds, due to having a hard coat, it never absorb water. When fungus associate with Pinus seed, that helps in water absorption, that leads to seed germination. That's why Pinus seeds cannot germinate and establish without the presence of mycorrhizae. These are the concepts related to long distance transportation of water and absorption of water by root system, along with the two pathways like Apoplast and Symplast. Thanks for watching.